Hey y'all. Man, I should really wait and do this video when I don't look so much like a scrub. Whatever. Whatever. So it's my weekly wrap-up video. What I would normally publish as my vlog, but you may have noticed over the last few weeks, it's mostly just been weekly wrap-ups rather than ongoing videos or in the moment videos during the week. It's been a busy couple of weeks, but it's nice to kind of sit and think about some of the bookish things I've been doing over the week, because those are usually the times when, you know, I'm stopping other busy things to have a moment of fun or joy. So I like doing these wrap-ups. Okay, let's see what's been going on this week. Last week on Sunday, we had the first discussion for a buddy read that's being hosted by Kat over at Y Read. So she's hosting a buddy read for N.K. Jemison's The Killing Moon duology. So it's the first one is The Killing Moon, and then the second one is The Shadowed Sun. So the first one is for September, and then we're going to read the second book in October together. So it was, I think, 4 or 5 of us on the Zoom call discussion last Sunday. And I really miss kind of talking about books. I'm in a number of book discussion groups that have kind of like stopped because of the pandemic and are just starting to pick up. And I've really missed being able to talk with people about the books that I'm reading. So that was fun. The Killing Moon so far, so I have not finished the book because I decided I would wait until the week of the last discussion. So we read the first 10 chapters, and then we're going to do the last part of the book and discuss it at the end of the month. So I figured I would wait for that. So the first, I talked about the first 10 chapters last time, I think, in anticipation of the discussion. And it was a good discussion because we didn't all agree about certain things. And those are the best discussions, because if everyone agrees, then the conversation really ends pretty quickly. So I read that, or I had that discussion group. And then I also started a study group for a test that I'm going to take on October 2nd. So it's basically an endorsement through the state for some of the work that I do. So I'm doing that every Sunday for the next next few weeks. So I'm also thinking of incorporating a couple of non-fiction, like clinically oriented audiobooks over the next couple of weeks just to review some of the material. So it's an endorsement for early childhood mental health, socio-emotional health. So I may, read a couple of things that in my usual rotation of books would be kind of boring, but it's related specifically to this goal I have of passing this test in a few weeks. So that was last Sunday and today. And I also have a book discussion group for the Read Harder Challenge. So there's a local group. Well, we used to be local. We've since moved and are meeting via Zoom, who discuss what we're reading for the Book Riot Read Harder Challenge. And this week, I think we're supposed to be talking about a book where the main character has a disability and a book by or about a refugee. I think that's what September is about. So the Read Harder Challenge is basically 24 categories, and you're supposed to try and read them over the course of the year. So we've broken them down 2 per month, and we get together to talk about them. It adds a little bit of accountability, unless you've been doing it for so long that everybody just reads what they want. And then we get together to talk about how we haven't read the categories and to recommend the books that we have been reading. So it's still fun. But I'm not sure anybody's still working towards the goal of the Read Harder Challenge this month. Or this year, I guess. It's been a weird year. I've also been running for the first time ever, hosting a Perfectly Posh party. So I think I mentioned this in the last video, and Perfectly Posh is like a brand of skincare. It's not makeup, but they do have a couple of like lip moisturizers. So it's not quite like Avon or Mary Kay, but it's lotions and skin cream and like face wash and and I am a one product and go kind of person. So I have done more to and for my skin in the last 2 weeks as part of this Posh party than I have probably in the last decade of my life. But because it's a sale and it's online, I've been kind of engaging more with Facebook and the group, and like I did a couple of TikTok videos to help promote the sale. My friend Beth is the Posh influencer, and I'm just hosting the party. So if it was in real life, we would have gotten together for an hour and she would have just demonstrated some of the products, and then we would have moved on with our lives. But it's a virtual party and it lasts for 2 weeks. And I don't know how people who did you hear that? Sell things like that and Tupperware and like all of that. Like it feels very exhausting. She's been running around dropping off samples and all of that. So more power to her. But she said, "Oh, if you could sell for me." And I'm like, no, ma'am. But I'm willing to host a party. The book I read this week, the full book, is that I finished is Pet Sematary. So this is not probably a spoiler-free, I'll put that, but I read the whole book. It was a reread, and I'm undoubtedly going to say things that people who don't know anything about Pet Sematary, the book or the movie, it's going to spoil it for them. So I'll put that in the description. So Pet Sematary is about a man who goes to live with his family, 2 children, and his wife to Maine, I think, Ludlow, Maine. And, all of Stephen King's books take place in Maine, I think. Most of them do. Or they end up in Maine, because like The Stand, they're all over everywhere, and they end up in Maine, I think. But they go to live in this town in Maine, and they discover a path that leads to a pet cemetery. And what that highlights when they discover it, because a neighbor shows them where it is the mother's sheer avoidance and emotional distress related to death. So then when the little girl's cat dies, the man is pretty like hesitant. You know, he doesn't know what to do because they're out of town and he's here with this dead cat. And the neighbor takes him up to this Indian burial ground. Now, there's nothing about Indian burial grounds that should ever inspire you to bury your cat there. But that's what happens. And there's a lot of clues and dread and foreboding that happens up to this point in the classic Stephen King style. So Stephen King isn't someone I think people probably read to get through it quickly. He definitely knows how to set a scene. He knows how to use a lot of words. But you really start to have that kind of like heaviness and like, ooh, when you're reading his books. So I read this one via audiobook and it was fantastic. Noelle Gallagher, who's one of my favorite YouTubers, and reads a lot of Stephen King. I think maybe her master's project is about Stephen King. I don't know, but she talks about him and about writing papers about him. And she was talking about how fantastic the audiobook for Pet Sematary is. And I figured that it would be great as a reread for readers imbibing peril. So that's why I read it. Anyway, back to the book. So he buries the cat, and the cat comes back to life, but he is changed, as you might imagine. Death has changed him, and being reborn has changed him. And he now is smelly and disgusting and basically a dead piece of meat. Judd, the neighbor, goes on to tell Lewis, our main protagonist, I guess, of how horrible things have been when things come back to life from the burial ground. I can't remember if he was telling him. Nope, he didn't tell him any of that stuff before the cat came back to life as a disgusting, aggressive thing. Of course. So when the son dies, who is a 2-year-old little boy in the book, I believe he's 2. He might be 3. One of the kids has a birthday. It might be the little girl. Of course, the family is overcome with grief. But, you know, classic to Stephen King, or usual to Stephen King, especially in his horror, there's some unknown force or paranormal elements that are not entirely understood but are felt by the characters. And for this book, that is Pet Sematary, which is the other character in the book. Not just the Pet Sematary where kids have maintained this place to bury their dead animals, but also beyond that is the burial ground, the Indian burial ground, that where maybe the soil has been soured by something terrible that's happened there. So there are a couple of stories in the book that tell you a little bit about what may have made the soil turn bad up there. So having seen the movie a long time ago and having read the book a long time ago, I was surprised to see how long into the book it takes for him to bury his son in the Indian burial ground, because that's really what I remembered. So I really thought that was like more of the book, and that doesn't happen until the book is very long. And I think the last 2 hours, I walked in the back door of my house and said to my husband, okay, I think we're finally getting this little boy buried, or something like that. Like, it just took a long time. So you know that the consequences of burying Gage are short-lived, but they're intense because it's not very much of the book. But having known what the book was about, I was anticipating it the whole time, which probably diminished a little bit some of that emotional pull that Stephen King is so good at. So if you haven't read it, keep in mind that to let go of waiting for Gage to die, which sounds terrible, right? And it leads us up to that point in a way that makes it not reasonable, because in the moment you're going, dude, don't do it. But it makes us understand how he got to that point. After Gage comes back and I won't spoil it too much, but not good. It's not a good thing that happens next. The next thing that happens, the next set of decisions Lewis makes, you can't relate to unless you've been with him through this journey, right? You would hope that you yourself would have learned something different, but he doesn't. And that's part of the Pet Sematary's power. So in the book, the next door neighbor, who's an old guy, he's in his 80s, but he's very spry. He's the one who introduces the family to Pet Sematary and introduces Lewis to the Indian burial ground. And he is played by the actor who played Herman Munster in The Munsters. And I love that guy. I can't think of what his name is. And in my mind, I can hear his voice saying Judd's lines, and I can see him as this person, which is why I tend not to watch things that I will read, because it kind of makes a difference to me. But because I love him, he is Judd. He is Judd to me. And when he's killed, sorry, but like I said, spoilers, when he's killed later, that was hard for me when I saw the movie as a much younger person, because he is a character and an actor that I really like. It's done really well, as you might imagine. I believe the movie was remade. If I rewatch it, if I watch the movie again, which I am kind of planning to do, it will be the old one. I might watch the new one for comparison's sake after, but I'm, not that interested in remakes. I don't know if it's a reinterpretation. Maybe it's a reinterpretation. I don't know. Anyway, that's the book that I read for the week. So that's another check off for RIPXV, Readers Imbibing Peril 15. I really liked it. I have another Stephen King book, I think, on hold at Libby, The Outsider, which is a much newer or more recent book, I think. And more maybe a mystery. I might not feel like a mystery when I can borrow it, and it's like another book that's like 18 hours long, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I also have a couple books I picked up from the library when I took my daughter, so I will haul those in a separate video, if only so I can post something this week. I got a new cartoon version of me for my avatar, made by an artist who lives in Portugal, I think. And I've been putting this new cartoon me everywhere. Here's a picture. Love her so much. And so I've been putting her everywhere. I got stickers from Vista Friends. I got a new bag for library books. And if that wasn't silly enough, which it is, it's silly, but I actually did have a canvas bag that had my old cartoon me on it, for the library, or for like when I go to conventions or to conferences and stuff. So I have that, and the silliest thing of all, coffee mug. I love how it came out. I mean, I made it and put it into Vistaprint, so it looks good based on what I did. I don't love it anymore though. I wish I'd done a different purple. So I got 3 of these. They were on sale. One has pink on the inside, one has green on the inside, and one has orange on the inside. And I think I'm gonna like use a couple to put things in. And then I might give a couple away or something. I don't know. I only got 3, so I guess I won't do a couple and a couple, but I'll give one away to a friend of mine. Is that the whole? Oh, I'm running a follow loop on Instagram today, so I'm going to post this today. So if you see this and you're on Instagram, go check it out at Reviews May Vary. It's me and a couple of other smaller booktubers, bookstagrammers who are doing it together. And I've never done one, so it seems like it's gonna be kind of a pain in the butt if it takes off. Oh my gosh, and how did I forget to tell you about Cirque du Fringe Quarantini and Shot Spear? Right now in Rochester, it is Rochester Fringe Festival, and it's gone all virtual this year. It goes until September 26th, and I got free tickets through our local Yelp group because I am a Yelper. And so on Friday night, I saw the Cirque du Fringe show. So it's an annual show, I think by this family, but it's kind of like circus acts, no big animals. And it was online, of course. And it was pretty cool. It's amazing kind of what the human body can do if you make it. And then the Shot Spear show, which I saw yesterday, also through Yelp, is basically, as you might imagine, a themed show around Shakespeare's complete works. And there are certain buzzwords during the show where everybody drinks. And there are 5 people in the audience, 4 or 5 people in the audience who have Shot Spear cards, and they can kind of like holler out anytime during the show, Shot Spear, and everybody takes a shot. So that was, I'd never done it before or never watched it before. And I can only imagine what that show is like with an actual audience. It's probably insanity in person. But it was a little bit more manageable, stimulation wise from the couch. So, yeah, if you're local, and you don't even have to be local this year because it's all virtual, check out the Rochester Fringe Festival website and pick a show. So I guess that's it. Here's the book I'm reading this week, My Dark Vanessa. I've heard great things about it. I am on page 36. So far, I guess my biggest thing to say about it is that if you need or value trigger warnings related to pedophilia, which is not actually the word for when there's a relationship of someone who's in their teens, but let's go with it. For pedophilia, grooming, or otherwise like big age gaps, then that should be a warning for this book. And so far what we've got is kind of 2 storylines. In the present, there is a woman who's involved with a man who has recently been accused of having a relationship with a student of his in high school. He's a high school teacher. And so she's in the present, and she loves him and she wants to be by him no matter what. And in the past, we have their relationship from when she met him when she was 15 and he was her teacher. So I think it's going to get interesting. I've heard great things about the book and that it's wonderful and excellent, which makes me wonder a little bit about what's going to happen. But I'm excited to read it, and I'll let you know what I think. I also put more red in my hair. It's supposed to be pink, but it's red. All right. See you next time.